Well, good evening, everyone. Welcome to another edition of the Gray Area. I am Mr. Bennett, the 7B president. Shout out to the Folkley Free out there. I'm joined by my co-host, Grooming and Reviews 101, aka the Ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka Paniotis. Y'all saw my brother?
Pablo, τι μου κάνεις, είσαι καλά, πώς πέρασαμε σήμερα?
Awesome. That just sounded good.
Yeah,
That's now I know why the
so
Greek guys get all the ladies over here because you guys y'all just start speaking Greek and the women just can't resist it. So now I know some of your secret there.
now I have a lesson for you today. Day of lesson, your name in Greek is Pavlo.
Pablo.
Yeah.
Okay, I'll take that. I'll take that. Yes.
And our last prince, who's a surviving member of the last crown, his name is Pavlo too. So there's a little history
Nice.
lesson too on top of that.
Nice.
So
All
how are
right.
you, my brother? How are we doing today?
I'm doing good. Busy weekend. I was trying to finish my taxes off, but I never got to it. So tomorrow night I'll be hunkering down. Like I said, we got a refund coming back. I'm just trying to keep more of my money so I don't have to pay any more out. But just a very busy weekend. Just grinding really up to the show. Doing stuff, and then after the show I gotta start to shut it down and get ready for the work week. So yeah, so the weekends definitely feel a lot more compressed. But just fortunate that we have the health. Again, that's one of my topics for today's show is dealing with fitness. So I'm just grateful that I have the health and fitness to do what I do. And at my age, being over 50, but it's good to know that I can still do those things. But just want to again greet everyone for again joining us tonight. Again, thank you. We understand that it's the beginning of the week, right, Peter? It's the beginning of the work of the week.
Yes, it is.
But we are, certainly grateful that you guys are going to be stopping in through the course of the show. As you can see on the bottom, our cash apps are scrolling. If you feel so moved, we appreciate any support that you give us by dropping something on our cash apps. But more importantly, we also appreciate any gifts to the channel support the BMU network through certainly your messages and anything that you get, group chats and any contributions that you help this network to grow. Again, we have content for 7 days of the week. So again, we have on every day we have something going on, so we just want to help this network be the best it can be. So we're sort of, I guess, so we're the starters of this of this thing. So now don't distract me. Now look, I don't know. So Black Man must have went and did some research and just pulled up that picture. That picture was actually from 5 years ago. I actually did a one when I turned 54 last year. I did a comparison. So at 50 and 54, and so far I'm still hanging on to my gains. I don't expect to make giant leaps in my fitness at this point. I'm just trying to hang on to what I have. So I posted a picture of myself at age 50 and then at age 54. And, you really can't tell the difference between the two. So that's the goal. But yes, I took that. I got that shirt specifically when I turned 50. And, I saw the shirt and I loved it. So I was like, I gotta get this guy. So on my very birthday is when I put that shirt on for the first time. So yeah, but, the fitness journey has certainly been one that's been long. But it's also at the same time it's been rewarding at the same time. So again, BMU definitely did some work to try to find that picture of me.
That's the problem when you're the host of the channel has your personal Facebook. I bet you he creeps on us all the time.
I'm sure. Oh yeah. He's that's what I get. You got to be careful what you post out there. They always say don't post anything you would be embarrassed. That if you need to go back and look at your pictures, as if something needs to be taken down, you better take it down before BMU gets a hold of it, because it could very well wind up making it on the show. So you better be careful about what's out there if you're friends with him. He could be a lurker back there. But yeah, that was definitely something. That was a good time. And my life, that to get to age 50, I mean, we take for granted how precious life is. Sometimes we don't realize that it can go at any moment. I've lost guys under 50. I've lost guys in their since they've turned 50. So again, every day is a blessing, and you need to be able to treat every day seriously and take your fitness seriously as well. So. But again, so that's going to be the general topic for the show. I think last week's show, I really the last couple of shows we did were really good. Again, it was a call-in show again, but we had an impromptu show on kissing. And again, the statistics definitely surprised me in terms of how a good portion of the world doesn't kiss, especially the Africans. Again, I don't know what's going on with the African people. I don't kiss, but you know that's definitely something that you know certainly surprised me. And then we had so really it all stemmed from last Friday's the Friday before last barbershop. Then it kind of spilled over into our show, and then we actually talked about it on Tuesday night. It was part of the Tuesday night discussion about kissing, and it's just amazing how just in recent years how people's views on kissing have changed, at least in this country anyway, where people are kissing less because of different factors or practices of people or whatnot, and people are starting to look at it as an unsanitary practice these days because of where people's mouths seem to be moving these days. But I think it's still an essential part of life, and I just couldn't imagine being in a healthy marriage with my wife without kissing her. So look, we're definitely locked in there. But that was a fun show, and certainly getting
No,
perspective.
I did enjoy it. I also enjoyed that martial arts show we did the last 2 weeks. We did
Yeah,
one
well, that one,
here.
yeah. Well, we may have to move on that show. I know we have a schedule of shows coming up. We may have to move on that sooner than later because every time, if we even touch it, even on your Hangout show last night, we were talking about martial arts movies, but the conversation, the gravity kept pulling us towards martial arts. So I had to keep pulling back, say, look, save some of that content because we're definitely going to have to get some guys on the show who are, again, practitioners in that. I really would like to, have a panel. I know our guy Mandrell, he's out there again celebrating his married life, as we were saying just before the show started. Those earthquakes that we had in the Northeast, we pinpointed it was a Mandrell doing his thing who caused those earthquakes to come out. So we're so happy for him and the things that he's doing, and so we're really happy for him, and hope to have him on the show. But again, anybody who has practiced, like I said, I haven't practiced. I'm an appreciator of the discipline and the sport of martial arts, but I've never given serious study. I have a little background in boxing, but I really haven't gone hard into these disciplines. So again, we're looking for guys. If you have a background in that, I know Black David studied the martial arts for many years, but anybody who has a practice in that, or even if you've boxed like amateur, I know JT was an amateur boxer. He boxed when he was in the military. So guys, anybody, if you've been in a combat sport or the martial arts field, you practice for a number of years, we would love to have a show where we bring some of these guys back so we can talk about some of the deeper concepts of martial arts, the training, the conditioning that you go through, the spiritual aspects of martial arts. We want to be able to explore that in a deeper fashion, have a deeper conversation. So anybody who has that background, we definitely want to have a panel of people. And I can, like I say, because I haven't studied, I can be more the host moderator for that show, because I know, Groomy, you have your experiences in it, so I would love to hear more of your perspectives on that. So yeah, I can be the moderator and let you guys cook, and we can be.
Oh, that's gonna be. You know what? I have plans for that. I always have a plan.
Absolutely.
I always have a plan.
You like Hannibal from the A-Team. I always have a plan. What's the plan?
I don't smoke anymore. I can't do the whole cigar thing or a cigarette thing.
What's the plan, Hannibal?
I love when a plan comes together.
Absolutely. So, yeah. But again, good to have you guys here tonight. Stacy B79, always supporting us, always in the house. Good to have you here.
It is an unofficial cheerleader of the channels.
That's right. So it's always good to have you in the presence too, and I'm sure more people will be dropping in as we go through the show. But let's talk about this thing. Let's talk about fitness.
Yeah.
From a cultural perspective. So again, for you growing up for that time in Greece, or what you know of Greek culture, what is for the average Greek person? We certainly get into our personal testimonies concerning fitness, but what do you think is the average mindset of the typical Greek person, male or female, when it comes to fitness, activity, gyms? What's the gym culture, or the technical term is the physical culture? The physical culture in Greece compared to, say, the United States or whatever, from your background.
Hmm.
And again, I also want to specify too, maybe a little bit different than, because I know sports is pretty popular all over the world. Football, soccer
Soccer is
is pretty popular over
huge in
there.
Greece.
Exactly. So
It's the
not
number one
necessarily
sport.
talking about sports participation per se, which obviously requires a certain level of fitness. But obviously, not everyone plays a sport. I'm so
Hmm.
you're talking about your everyday person, young people. What's the general view towards fitness in Greece from your perspective, and from Greek
So,
Americans being here as well?
so my fitness thing was mostly from my godfather, believe it or not. My
Mm,
godfather, he's up there in age right now. He's hitting 81, 82,
right.
and he's still shredded. I mean, by shredded, I don't see, he doesn't have a lot of fat on him. I mean, like, he can do a muscle. You can see his six pack, the 9 yards. To this day, he won't
Wow.
stop training. He fell in with, I believe he fell, not believe, I know. So he would never admit this to me personally, but he fell in love with the excuse me, the fitness world, through his military career.
Mhm.
Background on him a little bit. He was drafted in the Navy, like most people do in Greece. He liked it so much, he stayed in. So he became a 4-star general. His
Four-star.
job,
Wow.
yeah, his job was he was the head of accounting of the Greek Navy.
Mm,
So he knew about every penny going in that place. And, like,
mhm,
you couldn't pass a penny. Unfortunately, he got blackmailed. When you're up there in rank, you get blackmailed a lot.
mhm.
They accused him stealing. So he went on a downward spiral and literally tried to commit suicide in all 9 yards.
Oh wow.
What saved his life was fitness. So he trained and trained and trains. Like, I'm gonna be on the phone, like pretend I'm on the phone with him. Like, yeah, I'm on the phone. Like, all right, like, no, we call Godfather no in Greek. And I go,
Right.
no, what the hell are you chewing? I go, he goes to me, cauliflower. Why are you chewing cauliflower? Healthy snack.
Mhm,
Seriously? He goes, yep. And he will go. He's extreme with his diet.
mhm.
He has a personal trainer, dietitian, and a coach. I'm like, do you think that's overkill? He goes, nope. I go, you know better. I went to him, and I never understood that when I was
Mhm.
younger. He used to really get on me by my weight when I was younger. Like, when you go to tighten up, you're getting fat. We did this, that. And I'm like, all right, dude, like, relax. It's not a big deal. I now understand why it's a big deal.
Mhm.
Like, now I'm trying to shred this.
Mhm.
I get it.
Mhm.
Like at the moment, like, I'm like 23 pounds down, and that
Mhm.
took a lot of work. It's not
Were you
overnight.
ever shredded? Like, I know you played football back in high school and whatnot. Like, when would you say was your best look? Yeah, obviously you studied martial arts for a number of years. When would you say you were like, you know, like your most shredded or cut or developed
I was
muscular, or
never
when?
shredded, and
Mhm,
that's the goal at this time, to get shredded.
mhm,
So for everybody who doesn't know my a little background on me now, currently right now, I'm in a fitness journey. Like, you know that. Did
mhm,
I tell you that part
mhm.
right?
Yeah, yeah, yes,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
So I hire a coach. Don't need a personal trainer or dietitian because I work in dietary, so that's kind of pointless. Have a dietitian help me out.
Mhm, yeah.
Um, so I have a coach instead. It works a little better for me, my schedule and what my techniques and everything. So with me, it was always very hard to. It was easy to get the weight off. That
Mhm,
was not a problem. It's getting to down to the point I'm shredded. I never
mhm.
got to the point.
Right, the
The bi-
fat loss, because a lot
yes,
of people confuse, and this is always something I'm always preaching as well. A lot of people talk about weight loss, but really it's about body composition, mostly fat loss. I think that's what most people want, and sometimes it doesn't even involve losing weight at all. Like I used to tell women all the time, it's like, look, if I can get you into a dress that you're looking for, but you weigh the same, would you care? And most of them will say, no, I just want to get into the dress. So it's not even about weight loss, but it's about the
hmm,
composition of your body. You want more muscle than fat.
correct.
You want to be able to, lose the fat, especially in the places where, around the midsection or what have you. So, so it's definitely, I've always, tried to temper people's expectations. Like, oh, doctor, I need to lose 20 pounds. I'm like, well, 20 pounds of what? Because you definitely don't want to lose 20 pounds of muscle. Absolutely, but under no
Correct.
circumstance do you want to lose muscle. But and it also manifests itself in some of the routines that people do, because a lot of the routines that you're doing, you're actually going to be burning more muscle than fat. And so, people also need to be educated on what they're doing and what are the best things to burn fat, and what are the best things to keep and preserve and possibly build muscle. So I didn't mean to interrupt, but you
No,
can.
no, no, you're good, good, good. Look,
Yeah.
that's actually great because that's where I was going with it next, actually. Because I don't care what the scale says. I don't give a shit
Yeah.
about it. Right? I'll be
Right.
honest with you. I care about how I look and how I feel. That's what comes down to it. And lately, I am feeling actually really fucking good. I'm always tired. And let's be honest, because I think as an adult man, we never get enough rest or sleep. To be honest with you,
No,
we're always
no.
on go.
Especially on the weekends for me, I realize I probably get less rest overall because, again, even during the week, yeah, I mean, I'm not getting maybe as much sleep, but I'm also less active because it's to the office and back for the most part. So, but on the weekends, you're doing so much that the sleep that you are getting, it doesn't seem adequate. And again, there's no such thing as catching up when you sleep also. So there's some work that I need to do to make sure that I get the proper rest that I need. But weekends are not restful. A lot of times I'm busier.
Most people, like me personally, weekends I usually every other weekend I work. This is my weekend work. Now the other weekend that I'm off, I usually pick up an extra shift anyway. So there are 11 hours right there on top of what else I do. Sunday I get up early to go to church. By the time I get home and do whatever I need to get done, it's like half a day shot already. And like when you get rest,
exactly.
And like then I do my show, do the show with us, and that's it. Then, day's gone. And like when do you rest? Wednesdays I'm off. It's get up in the morning, feed the mom, feed the dog, take her to chemo, take her to the doctors, then the other doctors, then the other doctor, and the other doctor, and the other doctor. Oh, and go to a grocery store and like, okay, when is time for Pete to get a little R&R?
Exactly.
It's not.
Yeah.
And that's what frustrates me right now because I like playing video games to relax me. I don't have time. I'm gonna need to make time. Now that I'm adjusting my content schedule, I still hoping more time.
Right.
And before we get too off on topic, like lately, like I was saying, I feel really good what I'm doing in the gym because weight has gone up extremely a lot for me. So that is a plus. Like my PR before was like on a bar, a chest was probably like 35 both sides.
So 105.
Yeah. First time I did 245 plates.
135. Yeah.
Yeah. And I struggled. I'm not gonna lie to you. I struggled. And the last one I'm like, come on, motherfucker, you're going up. I'm like, but I got it up. I'm like, okay, I like this. Leg press, 125 pounds. That's not bad, actually.
Yeah.
That's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
The weight is going up every week.
Right.
So the program Nick has me on, it's unorthodox for me personally, because I always believed in little meals through the day. That's what I was trained with. Him having me fasting for 16 hours is like,
yeah,
I don't know about this, dude. And I go, trust me, you're gonna like it. I can't fast every day because of work, but I do usually 10 hours. But days like today, like I could do 16 hours because I get off early enough to start my fast earlier. I'm actually feeling good. So I'm a believer in a way now.
Yeah.
But again, it comes down to the whole training in Greece. For years and years, it was no real training in Greece.
Right. So was there like a preponderance of gyms, gymnasium, for weights? I mean, or treadmill? Like, what was just growing up? Was it something? And I can imagine like if you were in Athens or something like that, I could certainly see, having more access to gyms there. But I'm just saying, like in your neighborhood or even in your house, was it common for people to have like a little weight set, little bench with some weights, plastic plates or whatever? I mean, was that some dumbbells or something? Yeah.
Little weights. Like I remember somebody buying me dumbbells as a kid. They're not real. They're fake. Little Sam dumbbell.
Yeah.
For pretending I'm working out and all that stuff. And like I was a little kid. It fascinated me at that young age. I remember not even a block away was the gym in the area. And that's the only gym in the area. It was two stores I remember very well with fitness. The gym and the gym store. And I remember people talking about protein powder. People thought protein powder was drugs. I'm like, yeah, only if I could talk to you guys now. It's not drugs. I remember the old people like my talking to my grandma like, can't believe my son brought this home. His father's gonna kill him. Yada. I'm like, my grandmother goes, oh, that's a new drug they're on, right? I'm like, yeah. I'm like, they're going on. Like, I wish I was like a little go back in time. Like, that's not a drug, ladies. That's
Right.
good for you, actually.
Well, anything new, people gonna, and back in the day, there were a lot of supplements, especially when you had like the magazines. Did you guys have access to like Flex magazine or Muscle and Fitness, the Weeder publications from back in the day? Like you go into the store, the magazine stand, did it have bodybuilding? Because I've been a fan of bodybuilding most of my life, and I don't recall any like major bodybuilders, famous ones, like your Arnold Schwarzeneggers, Franco
Mhm.
Columbo, all those guys. I don't recall a lot of bodybuilders coming out of Greece that I knew who were of Greek origin, but certainly, but back then, did you see Arnold Schwarzenegger on the cover of a magazine in the stores or whatever? What was the was that accepted, or did the Greek people look at the bodybuilders and be like, ooh, those guys look, they look ugly or freaky or something? Like,
So
what was the general perception?
here's where it gets a little twisted, in my opinion, where the gray area comes in, literally.
Okay.
So we have the statues there in Greece. They're all ripped.
Right,
They're
right.
throwing this and that. I'm like, and they had the helmets, coming with the spears or the swords. I'm like, I should get my helmet now. I'm actually thinking about it. But it just, you had that go up. Now let's talk about Arnold for a minute. Arnold was very popular in Greece, even Stallone. Very popular actors. And like, if you're talking about an action movie, those two names are always going to come up back in the 90s in Greece. You could not bring up an action movie conversation. I bring in Stallone and Arnold. Those two are the number one names you're going to bring up.
Right.
Now, bodybuilding as a whole, back when I grew up in Greece, it wasn't a thing. I didn't know anything about it.
Yeah.
Maybe I was too young at the time. Last time I went to Greece, and when I was into the fitness, people didn't really talk about it either, about Mr. Olympia and all that stuff. Now that I watch the Greek TV, you have people actually, bodybuilders educating people out there. What is creatine? What is a multivitamin? Why do we use fish oil and so on?
Yeah.
Because now gyms are actually blowing up in Greece too.
Yeah. Yeah.
Oh my God. Boom. We just figured out. Like, if you go to the gym and move your muscles, you might prevent diabetes before you hit 30. And that's very common in Greek culture. Diabetes and heart problems are two major problems. And I'm shit out of fucking luck because both my parents have them.
Yeah.
So I have to watch that.
Yeah, because they say some of that can be hereditary. You can pass it on.
It is hereditary in my family.
Yeah.
Almost, like half my family had both of them.
Gotcha.
Like my uncle died from a heart attack. So cancer, my other uncle died from cancer, lung cancer.
Yeah.
But again, in his dumbass defense, he was a painter in New York City, smoker, not wearing a mask. So, damn if you do kind of process with him.
Right. Shout out to the panel coming in. Alexis from Texas, thank you for coming in. Yes, howdy from Texas, even though you're originally from KC. But she's planet her star in Texas. Can you do me a favor? I hate when I can't pronounce names properly. I really do. If you could, in the chat, if you could phonetically spell your name, like how it's supposed to be pronounced, so I don't mess that up. But again, I really appreciate you supporting and coming in, but I really want to make sure you get your name right. That's a bit of a peeve of mine. I always try to learn, no matter what the language is or whatever, or how complicated the name. I have a lot of Indian friends who have very long names, and I prided myself on being able to pronounce the name like all the way through without shortening it or whatever. So if you could do that for me, I would have really appreciate it, because again, I just want to. Or the next time we have a live show, we would love it if you would call in and you could tell me personally what your name is. So definitely. By the end of the month, certainly feel free to call in as well. But okay, so it's Ine. Now that's Nia. I'm telling you, if I'm looking at it right, knee, like your knee. So it's Ine Nia. If I said that correctly, then you could just put okay. Ine Nia. All right. So I'll know that. I'll know that going forward. Thank you for sharing that. So good to have you on tonight as well. But back to your point about the Again, not being big back in the day, like but the nice thing now, you do have the explosion of the gyms and whatnot.
Hmm.
Now, what about with women? Because again, a lot of times you talk about bodybuilding for the most part. I mean, obviously you have girls into fitness and whatnot. What is generally for women in Greece? Is that do you see more women or as many women in Greece going to the gym and and not just going to the gym, because you go to the gym, be on a treadmill or whatever, but lifting weights or what have you. And with the women, you have so many different divisions. You have bikini, you have figure, you have wellness and bodybuilding and all that. Are women also taking that on as far as the fitness culture?
It's starting to, but there's only one little difference in Greece right now. It was now the toxic is creeping into that culture too.
Hmm.
So for the longest time, Greek women are very reserved. They cover up. They don't like showing too much skin with at the gym, kind of thing.
Hmm.
I literally just had this conversation 2-3 days with Stacy actually. So we are always complaining about guys hitting girls in the gym, but when you're in tight shorts to the point like I can see your ass, you're kind of asking for trouble.
Right.
That's what we were talking about.
Hmm.
So in Greece, there were less of that. Now slowly that's creeping in too, and that's also getting a little treading in dangerous waters. Now with the gym thing, most people did not go to the gym when
Hmm.
I was growing up. The gym was your backyard. Go run for a run. Go to a park. That was a gym. Play soccer. And that was at gym. I think that's why back when I was growing up, you saw a lot of people obese.
Hmm.
Even not obese, even fat.
Hmm.
There was a lot of it
Yeah.
because gym wasn't a thing. I remember men wearing tight shirts all the time. Like that was the thing back there in Greece. Wear tight shirts. You know what I'm saying?
Hmm. Yeah.
You're wearing tight shirt, but your gut was showing. You
Just
know what I'm
hanging
saying?
out. That's that ultimate no. It's like,
You know what I'm talking about
yes, I do. Oh
exactly.
my gosh.
And that was not a great look, to be honest
Hmm.
with you.
Hmm. Wow.
So
Wow.
gyms are becoming more popular
Right. But it's
now.
interesting you say that about the conservative nature of. I
Mhm.
always felt that Greek people were less conservative in terms of clothing and whatnot. Like women, wearing more, especially at the beaches and whatnot. Wearing bikinis or what. I always just had this idea in my mind that Greek people were generally more body positive about their bodies more so than being conservative and covering up. I believe that might be a perception. I might only been looking at a couple beach scenes or something like that,
That
but I
is
always
a
just thought that
mixer,
people
I would
were.
say.
Yeah.
Let
Mhm.
me unbunk that a little bit. So
Mhm.
you're right and wrong at the same time. So yes,
Okay.
you are right. They're very reservative usually. They don't show, they're actually very body proud. They show skin and everything like that, but they know how to do it in a way it's classy still, if that makes
Hmm.
sense.
Hmm.
So at the gym, yeah, they were in their bikinis. There were, guys that were, no, like weren't taking your shirt off, and go outside and playing with your kid and waterproof line. It's normal. It's not a big
Hmm.
deal.
Hmm.
Here is like, oh my god, you took your shirt off. You're fat. Okay, I'm fucking fat. You can turn around, asshole. As simple as that.
Right. Right.
Um,
As I say, like being
yeah,
positive in that, not so much concerned about looking
yeah.
buffed, but it doesn't matter like what your body type is. You're just free, comfortable with your body. So again, you can be at the beach, you can be whatever, and you can have, like I said, a guy can have his shirt off, he can have the beer gut or whatever, but it doesn't affect him because in Greece they're not as concerned about how you look, or again more body positive in terms of, hey, this is who I am or whatever, accepted or what have you.
Pretty
Whereas
much.
here
Yeah.
you have it like people can be very self-conscious about what they wear, how they look in public and things like that and whatnot. So again, some people won't be as brazen to be so open with how they dress. Although again, in some circles, like people will be like, "What is she wearing?" or "What is he wearing?" So we've certainly seen enough content in these spaces talking about dressing inappropriately in Walmart or whatever. We've all seen those videos
I
and
put
talking
a good
points on that.
example. Like I will say, a woman would never wear a pair of pajama pants, for example. Go to the gym and work out. That is
Mhm.
not a thing there. And I mentioned this before.
Mhm.
Don't go to the store or go anywhere with pajama pants. Like,
Mhm.
they have the little tank tops. Go to the gym. Okay,
Okay, so they'll
yeah,
show their belly buttons and whatnot.
yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
Were you weren't there in the 80s? Remember the 80s? They had that like the Jane Fonda look where they were kind of in these I forget the leotards with the socks on and stuff like that, and going to the gym and all that. Was there a craze where Greeks or Greek women ever went through that phase where they were in that kind of fitness thing? So they were wearing the headbands, they had the leotards on, they had the very fitted clothing and spandex and whatnot going to the gym. Was that ever a thing at some point in
No,
time?
actually, like that. I at least
Mm,
I don't remember that thing. God,
right.
no offense. But
You would have
the
loved it. Admit it. You would have loved that.
spandex. I don't know about spandex.
If the girl is hot, you
Yeah,
that may
yeah.
distract you from your workout, but I'm just saying. But again, I'm not saying that looks on everybody, but typically the woman who would be bold enough to do that, she's definitely not afraid of showing her body off. So she'd be in the gym, wearing that stuff. But at least that was like an 80s and 90s thing where the ladies would wear that kind of stuff to the gym, but they wear the really tight, short kind of things where the
Mhm.
cheeks were kind of slightly hanging out or whatever, and so definitely there was there's a lot of gyms didn't necessarily enforce, so to speak, gym etiquette when it came to clothing and whatnot. The girls almost like they could almost wear anything to the gym. Guys was like, yeah, don't take your shirt off, whatever. But the ladies, you could have essentially like a bikini top on and kind of still be accepted. Yes, the leg warmers back in the day. So the 80s leotard with the leg
Okay, I know
warmers
what you're
on and
talking about
whatnot. Yeah,
now.
yeah. I remember Jane Fonda, Leaving Newton John, that Let's Get Physical.
I would
Remember
tell
that
you one
video?
thing.
Yeah.
Greece never went through that phase. Like the leg
Never
warmers,
went to
like that.
that phase.
No, they
That is
never. I don't know
surprising to me.
why they kind of skipped that phase.
That is really
Um,
surprising to me.
yeah, they
I
went
just
into
yeah.
the leather pants more than anything.
Oh, so okay, so the tight leather pants, but
Yeah,
not the
but
spandex leotards and
here's the problem with the leather pants.
mhm.
They didn't only want it for females. They went for men too. It was both ways. I'm like, but men didn't wear them leather like tight. And like, I had a
Mhm.
pair of leather pants. It was
Mhm.
like, I remember that like was the coolest thing ever.
You,
Everyone
do-
like,
you just put an image in my mind. I don't know if I want to see that.
yeah, I don't want to see that. But I want to answer one of our comics from Marcus over here on my side.
Mhm.
He says I think people will get hit on either way. Yeah, he's right. I do agree with that, dude. Like, yeah, it's you can get hit no matter what. Obviously,
Exactly.
yeah.
Yeah.
But there, Joe Swirl, he's one of IFBB guy. He calls people out in the videos and like that, and
Mhm.
he has proven like more people who show more skin or more skin. Let me rephrase that. More scampier clothes
Mhm.
to the gym are more likely to get hit on if
Mhm.
they don't want to.
Mhm.
So people who wear like more like a t-shirt versus a tank top.
Mhm.
You see where I'm going with this, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But like I said, I mean, it's going to be especially if the ones who are serious about working out and the ones who don't. And the
Mhm.
ones who are serious about working out, they're probably the results are going to show them what they're wearing. So, like I've seen people wear like the baggy sweatpants and the baggy shirt, male and female, to the gym and whatnot, but they're putting it in, so it's there. But they just don't necessarily want to show it off. But it's hard to hide certain things when you're in the squat rack or you're doing those bent over rows or whatever. You're gonna see what you're gonna see there. So, but yeah, I mean, certainly, dressing in a way that doesn't, draw unnecessary attention to yourself. A lot of that stuff is certainly going to matter. But so we see this culture growing in Greece. It might be maybe a few years behind here, because I can tell you certainly growing up in the 80s. Again, I think Pumping Iron, for example, had I think a big influence on the fitness culture in society. Pumping Iron, it was actually covered the 1975 Mr. Olympia contest. The movie came out in 1977, and since that came out, and then in the early years, Conan the Barbarian came out 1982 and whatnot, and The Incredible Hulk. Remember, 1977, The Incredible Hulk TV series with Lou Ferrigno
And that was a
came out as
huge hit
well.
in Greece too, because
Exactly.
I
Yeah.
used to watch it in
So
Greece.
right. Yeah.
And
So
like,
I think you had So you
like,
definitely had this craze that came out during that time. Yeah.
yeah, that we had that same craze. Like the first known documented gym was called the Gymnasium back in ancient Greece.
That's
It
right.
was
That's right.
the
That's where we get the term from,
yeah
gym, coming from gymnasium. Yeah.
the seven 7th or 5th generation century. I can't remember. I almost said
Hmm.
generation, but you
Yeah.
know what I meant.
Yeah.
I just that's what surprised me because we do have a lot of sports in Greece.
Right.
Soccer is mostly what we're known for, but we
Hmm.
got a basketball team.
Hmm.
We
Yep.
have
A
a
very good one.
polo
Yeah. Yeah.
polo team.
Yeah.
We have a swim team. We have a rugby team. Believe it or not, we have a
Hmm.
little bit of everything,
Hmm.
and they're actually really fucking good. Believe it or not,
Yeah.
they're not as popular on TV, but they're really good. So it makes
Right.
you wonder how these guys get fit all the time.
Yeah, yeah. Well, it's kind of ironic you're talking about, how when you were there growing up, there wasn't a lot of gyms, there wasn't a lot of people who were really into fitness, but Greece is the home to so many of what we know today in terms of fitness. I mean, it's the start the original Olympic Games, or at least the modern games anyway. I think it was Greece 18, what was it, 1804? I think was the first modern Olympics, but we going even back before then, the ancient games in Greece, wrestling and all
Mhm.
those early events, the races and whatnot. A lot of that stuff came out of Greece. So Greece has a history of sports, of competition, of fitness. Like I said, the term gymnasium comes from those places where those athletes trained, where those wrestlers trained in order for these competitions back in the day. And I think the first modern Olympics was in Greece. I want to say it was 1804. I could be wrong about that. It might have been a little bit earlier, but so again, you come from a culture that has that, but maybe in recent times, maybe through maybe 20 years ago, maybe the average Greek person wasn't like, trying to be a fitness person. And what's also ironic is you also mentioned this at the beginning of the show, all of those statues. So again, those Greek statues of the gods and the athletes and whatnot, everybody was ripped, had ripped abs, and
Mhm.
just very much these figures are portrayed in the artwork as being very muscular and very fit individuals, but somehow for a time some of that got lost, maybe in the modern the modern world that we're in, that got lost for some time, but it seems like it's starting to make a comeback in Greek culture. Would you agree with that?
Yeah. So really fast before I don't want to lose my train of thought.
Hmm.
In 1986 was the first Summer Olympics of the modern era was held in Greece, and the president who ran them was Dimitri Vikolos.
Hmm.
Does not sound Greek, actually. I'll give you
Hmm.
that. But he ran the first modern Olympics. Greeks. It was in Athens, believe it or not, and the second one, obviously, we know, was in early 2000s,
Hmm.
2004,
That was
2005.
2004. It was in Athens, yeah, because I
Yeah, 2004.
remember, yeah, and actually a Greek man ran. He won the 100-meter run sprint from Greece, and that was like a big upset because you had all the usually it's like it's the Americans or the Canadians or the Jamaicans or
Hmm.
something like that. So he kind of came out of nowhere. No one knew who he was, but he won the actually I think it might have been the 200-meter race that he won at that 2004 Athens Games. So you seem to come from a culture that was built on, you had the soldiers, so you had the Sparta warriors, and you had the Olympics, you had the statues. So how people kind of got away from that from a while is certainly something that is interesting. But like I said, I'm glad to hear it coming back. But just going
I
back to what I
think
was saying, yeah.
I think if I had to say why Greeks stopped, being as fit, if you want to call it that,
Hmm.
it's work. They're workaholics, most of them that I
Hmm.
know, at least.
Hmm.
So, remember that workaholics back then when I grew up. Now it's a little different time set and mindset,
Right.
and that's for a different episode. But for what I can say, for at least for now, is they were workaholics, so they put the house in a back burner. Like, not a lot of people had a work off a job. A lot of them work construction. A lot of them work
Hmm.
in restaurants. A
Hmm.
lot of them would do like garbage man job or stuff like that. Mechanics. You don't have a lot, sitting behind desk jobs.
Yeah.
And like even here, there are not that many desk jobs, believe it or not. Most of them are like blue collar, like myself and yourself. It's like most of the people are going to be having like a hand job kind of job.
Hmm.
Do you disagree or agree?
Well, I think the numbers have certainly dropped. I mean, especially when you look at towns like, industrial towns like Pittsburgh or, Ohio, where, you had steel mills and plants. I know Pittsburgh, for example, that's essentially become a tech city. So definitely a lot more office work. People sitting down. I think in general, I think most people are on sort of sit down sort of jobs. A lot of the jobs that people used to do manual labor either got replaced by computers or technology, like the auto industry, for example, when they went to robotics. So I think that took a lot of people out of the actual working conditions. I think farming, when you had more advanced, equipment, and harvesting or whatnot, essentially imagination has certainly replaced a lot of physical labor. I think a lot more people are working at least in some sort of office environment, even if you're in an environment like Amazon or something like that, like in a warehouse. It's still not the same as like being outside and toiling and doing a lot of physical work. So I think it's kind of like a mixed bag. But certainly for the people who are in the offices, I think certainly I think a lot of those folks are at a disadvantage is because again you forget how those physically demanding jobs. I think that's how a lot of people used to say thinner. I mean, there's been trends in obesity over the years. And I think a lot of that tends to happen when people get out of manual work. Even our mothers back in the day who were housewives, they got up from like sun up, they cleaned the house. I mean, they didn't have automated devices. They didn't have washing machines. Like they washed by hand, the washboard. They hung the clothing on the hanger in the. Now I got to feel in Greece that's kind of how much you guys do. You do laundry. Do you hang the clothes to dry like on clothing lines?
So that is a catch-22 also a question because my grandmother, we never had a washer in the house. She did it in a sink.
Yeah.
No washboard either, just
right.
barehanded. And she had a hanger outside in the backyard and hanged it up.
Yeah.
Or in the winter, she had one in the house. I remember going going through the clothes trying to get around.
Right.
And that's how I was. My mother, when we lived to Greece, she goes, "Fuck this." She goes, "I'm not a fucking washer."
Okay,
she was so used to it.
She brought the automation in.
Yeah, but the dryer, she didn't care about a dryer. She didn't give a shit about a dryer.
Right.
She just hanged it up outside and fresh air, dry off.
Right. Now let me ask an old school kind of question here. And then again, folks in the chat, I don't know if you remember, if you grew up, what did you prefer? To have your clothes hang on a dryer put in a dryer, or hanging on a clothesline outside with the clothespins and whatnot? Did you have a preference in terms of how your clothes smelled after that, or whatever? I'm just curious to the people, who may have experienced that. This for millennials, you may have no idea what I'm talking about, or younger. But for those of you, if you remember having your clothes hanging outside on a clothes line, was that better than the dryer when it came to your clothing? I just be curious. That's just a side note that I'm just curious about. But I want to get back to again the explosion of fitness here. So in the 80s, you had gyms like Bally's. Bally's Fitness was a major one. Plus, you also had major spokespeople like Rachel McLish, who was the first female Miss Olympia. And again, that was back then when the women looked like like girls on the beach. Like they weren't muscular as they became in later runs, became more manly looking. But you had major spokesmodels for that. Again, you had the Jane Fonda craze, and it's like anyone who was anything back then. You had a fitness video. Jane Kennedy, she had a fitness workout tape and whatnot. So there definitely the 80s was this explosion of the gyms. I mean, you had women's only gyms. Living Well Lady was a popular franchise that was certainly in the Northeast. That was a women's only gym. And again, just the whole explosion of home video. Richard Simmons in the 80s and whatnot. And there was a movie that came out. I don't know if you remember. Oh geez, what's her name? Oh my gosh, I forgot her. The lady who was in the Halloween movies. The actress in the Halloween movies.
Oh shit, I know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But she was in this movie. She was in this movie called Perfect with John Travolta, and that was like a big movie back then when she was, when she was Jamie Lee Curtis. Jamie Lee Curtis, yeah. So so you had a lot of the actresses at that time. They were kind of going into it as well. You had the Buns of Steel franchise that came out in the 80s. So again, working out from home. became a big thing. I mean, and you always had stuff like if you go back to the 50s, you had like Jack LaLanne. He had a daily fitness show that was on. But I'm talking about the real explosion in fitness really came in the 80s, where gyms were going. Gold's Gym really went national. World's Gym, LA Fit, Fitness, Bally's, as I said earlier. You really had an explosion in that time where everybody was looking to get fit during that time. So it was definitely it definitely changed here in the 80s. But I think what we did in the 80s, I think is what Greece is going through right now.
Mm-hmm. It is, I think, because they're going through their fitness phase because they don't understand. Like I remember I was having coffee downstairs with my mother, and if all of a sudden this bodybuilder comes out, like, "Oh, this guy's fucking huge," I'm shocked because I didn't expect that from a Greek guy.
Mm-hmm.
So when he comes in, start talking, explaining about, like I said earlier, creatine and supplements and all this stuff. Some are really good, some are really bad for you. Steroids, yada yada. I'm gonna go, wow. Like when I met one of my really good friends, Dimitri, he was always in fitness, but he felt like I did. Like I can't get to that goal, and he had his own goals, whatever. To me, it was more a shocker because I seen Greek people in the gym with me. I was always being the unique one, and I talked about this. I was always the dark black wolf, black sheep, black whatever you want to call me. I was always like that. Now in the gym even made it worse for me because like people used to go out, watch soccer. I was going to the gym instead. Like that was my poison, or a cup of tea, whatever you want to call it. But I worked out versus seeing me on the TV. You see where I'm going with this?
Yeah.
I was never really into sports when I was younger as much as it sounds surprisingly. I didn't get into sports when I was in my teens. And I only was very selective. Like I was into martial arts, obviously, hockey and football, and that's it. Soccer, I could play it. I love playing it. Right. But ask me to watch it. Oh my god, it's the most boring fucking thing ever.
Yeah.
No, I can't say that as much because I realized it wasn't the sport. It was boring. It was the announcer in Greece. And I'm like, hey, I'm like, okay, what? I'm like, in American, I'm like, yeah, this guy's good. He's passing. He does this. I'm like, oh, okay, this makes it more interesting.
Okay. So the Greek announcers, they're a little too fast, or they're just kind of like
flat and boring.
Wow. I hear you.
Yeah, they don't talk about anything like he passes or he's going 3 yards, 4 yards, and that's all that. And like they're just talking about who has the ball now. I'm like, that's boring to me.
Yeah, I heard it. Shout out to folks who join us. Information Man, again, thank you so much for joining us tonight. Again, anytime, any platform you're on, certainly it's always good for you to stop by and honor us with your presence here. So I salute you for being here. The Wife School Podcast, thank you for coming through. And she mentions feta. So I guess from the Tuesday show, they were talking about your the feta from Greece versus the feta from here. I don't know what the
I need to start jumping down into Tuesday shows, or at least pop my head through the chat or something, because you guys be talking about me too much. I see.
I don't. I came up. Nah, just brother said he wasn't in the feta.
That was Friday, dude.
Oh, that was Friday. Okay, that was Tuesday. Okay.
Uncle
Friday,
Ricky.
Yeah.
I wonder if he's related to Uncle Howdy.
Don't do that.
You know who Uncle Howdy is? I bet you're wrong. You think I'm talking about somebody else.
Howdy, what?
From wrestling. From Bray Wyatt. Yeah, he had his.
Okay, I got you.
I knew you thought I was thinking about something else.
I
got you there.
Oh, you're talking about this? The sports announcer. Feta. I guess there's a sports announcer. I guess there's a Greek sports announcer. I got to look that up. You're gonna have to give me a reference of Wife School so we can probably.
Yeah, I got to do my homework now. You embarrassed
me. I got to talk on that subject more. But just kind of going back, I want to go back a little bit, and then I want to go into like a different.
Before we go too far, I also want to mention one thing. My mom's best friend's daughter, she was into really big in fitness, like to the point like they didn't question things. When a coach gave you something, here, take this, for example. And she was taking it. She was like literally one step away to get into the Olympics. She was in martial arts, Taekwondo, I believe. I can't pronounce that word.
Taekwondo. Yeah.
Thank you. And she failed her piss test. I'm like, why am I
Oh
feeling my
man.
pissed at? And find out her coach was giving her steroids the whole time. And
Mhm.
now she had kidney problems because of that, because it wasn't regulated like a doctor.
Right.
So that's another thing. Like, Greeks was like, if your coach says take it, you take it. You listen to your coach. And
Right.
that's sometimes you gotta question things.
Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Want to go back a little bit to, like I said, before we hit the gyms and whatnot. Were you a fit kid in terms of like, did you do like push ups and sit ups growing up? Was that something that you just kind of got up in the morning and did 30 or 50 or 100 or whatever you did, or certain amount of that type of stuff, like body weight exercise? Because that's something that a lot of people because they get in their minds, it's like, oh, well, I got to go to a gym or I got to be in the right environment and whatnot. And sometimes, and again, it's ideally, certainly if you can get to something like that, fine. But I just think there's a lot of times there's so many workouts, especially when we were locked down for 2 years, where
Mhm.
you couldn't get to a gym. And I know one of the things I used to do was I used to, create videos to show people, look, yeah, you can't get to a gym, but there's certain things you could do from home. Yeah, you may not be able to have, access to dumbbells, but you can like take a shopping bag and put like canned goods in there and make weights out of things and whatnot. So, how serious were you like back in the day before you got access to gyms and whatnot? Were you about body weight exercise and just different modes that were available to you if you didn't have access to the gymnasiums and things that we have
So
access
I
to today?
didn't really have access to anything back then because I was like home and that's it in Greece. I started getting access to stuff when I was coming here, when I was living in the States, going to the gym, karate class. Yeah. You get the idea.
Mhm.
In Greece or at home, not going to the gym, not going to martial art class, none of that stuff. You
Mhm.
got a better chance seeing captures fronting ghosts before you see me do a push up in our house.
Really?
Yeah. And like I always said, I'm going to do some push ups. I started really hard, like a couple days here and there. Then I was dropped off, and like and a couple weeks later, I do some more. I'm like,
Mhm.
the house is never a place for me to say I'm gonna get fit. It
Mhm.
was never my place.
Right.
Even when I practiced my martial arts stuff, I always went to the dojo early enough to do it at there.
Right. Yeah, I hear you. I hear you. Yeah, me, I think I got to credit my brother because he was a a pretty big basketball player, especially in high school. And back
Mhm.
then, there was also a culture of where for any sport, maybe with the exception of football, you didn't lift weights. Like the mantra was, for basketball, you don't lift weights because it throws your shot off.
Okay.
It was just an old school mentality back in the day that they didn't want you. They didn't want you doing that. Only football was the only sport that I know of where they said, okay, you got to lift weights. Not even for wrestling. You didn't lift weights for wrestling because they felt it made you too slow. But he got me into push-ups relatively early on, and he would do push-ups every morning or whatnot in preparation for basketball. But certainly he kind of got me on that. So that was something that I've gone through seasons with it, but that's something that I definitely maintained
Mhm.
for a number of years. That until I got really serious about the gym up at my gym, so I don't do as much of it. But like on any given day, I can just knock out 50 push-ups if I want to. If I really built up my conditioning for it, I could probably get to 60, 70, 80, maybe 100. But and I'm talking about doing them consecutively without stopping. But that was something that for me and my brother, he really got me on that pro. And ironically, now I'm the fit guy. Like he kind of at some point in time, he kind of lost all interest in sports or basketball and all that kind of stuff. So he kind of got out of shape over that. But I'm the one who kind of maintained it. But he was the one who really kind of introduced me early on to that kind of physical training. But definitely the push-ups and the sit-ups, that was like couple hundred you would do, and that was just something that was in me for a while. I was still thin, and that might have been the reason why I could do as many as I was able to do because I was so thin. But that was definitely something that he introduced me to. But
S- See, I
yeah.
didn't feel a love with, how can I put this? Weightlifting
Mhm.
till I was more an adult. I always like want to do that. Like I was curious, like, how do you get the body of a Greek god or a body of a Superman or any of those guys? And I never
Mhm.
could put the formula together. I thought, dieting. That's how I thought. I hate dieting because I love food too much. Okay, this and that. I was always trying this, all these experiments with this stuff.
Right.
But when I started working for a gym, and I was the assistant manager there, and I was the head instructor of the martial arts studio, one of my studio.
Mhm.
And one guy goes, "Oh, you should go in there." I'm like, yeah, whatever. I don't care. And like,
Right.
I still can kick your ass. And like,
Right.
so they go to me. You know what? My guy like, you should go. We should train together. Like, all right, fuck it, whatever. And if you leave me alone, I'll train.
Mhm.
That's it. They bit me that one time, and ever since I love the gym. He was
Right.
always my anchor. Now
Right. Well,
I
it's
might fall
interesting.
off it.
It's interesting you bring that up because, again, I kind of alluded to it my last comment about certain sports that didn't invest in or didn't endorse strength training or weight training. And you talk about you've had a long martial arts background,
Mhm.
but having said that, a lot of martial arts don't necessarily do a lot of strength training. Like again, push-ups and a lot of physical conditioning, sit-ups and things like that, maybe. But I remember that's why Bruce Lee was so revolutionary, because he was like the first guy to like really introduce like weight training, like working out with barbells and whatnot. And people tell the body that he had, and if you look at when he did his lat spread and all those things, and but he was a big believer in strength training, but you still have some old school disciplines that don't endorse it. And the fact that in some martial arts, they didn't incorporate a lot of weightlifting or strength and conditioning programs into the martial arts. So what do you think about that, from your experience back in the day to where you are now? Like, if you were going to say start up a class again now, would you be more intentional about getting your students to actually lift weights, or maybe having, if you had, let's say if you had a dojo, say if I just snap my fingers, you got a dojo, okay, so this is your place. Would you have an area with a weight set or a universal machine, or one of those multifunctions, so your students can actually start to develop themselves physically like that as part of the overall martial arts training? Have your views kind of changed on that a little bit, since you said when you used to teach? I don't know how much did you have your students actually working on their fitness in that capacity using machines and things of that nature.
That's a catch-22
Okay,
because as much as I love fitness and going to the gym,
sure.
I don't think it's necessary to hit the weights sometimes. I think you can get the same amount of work out of just doing calisthenics sometimes.
Hmm.
And like, I know my personal coach now, he tells me, he would just switch it up. Just instead of doing cardio for 20 minutes, let's do some pull-ups. Do like 3 sets of 8, for example.
Yeah.
That's a better warm-up versus going for a bench press. Because you're working your whole body. So if I can do a workout, let's say squats, for example, that again, it works the whole body. Anything that works the whole body, I'm more a fan of. Because the whole time you're working every muscle.
Right.
So I don't really feel it. If you want to do it extra yourself, all means go for it. I'll be happy. I'll be love to help you, as I said, say.
Right.
But I don't think it's a must.
Okay. And like I said, there's obviously different schools of thought on that. Like I said, Bruce, he was like really big into, that needs to be something that's incorporated into your training. But I'm sure there's going to be different schools of thought on that. And I've always known that martial artists, they did, you guys talked about in the last show, we're talking about, doing the push-ups on the sand or the concrete or whatever, building up your conditioning and all that kind of stuff. And, so I know, so I think certainly calisthenics, the wife school said, definitely I've seen guys. In fact, there's a guy, like when I go to work every morning, there's a guy who's, as I pass by, there's a park to my right. And I see a guy there like every morning, and he's got the weight vest on and whatnot. And he's doing pull-ups and chin-ups and things of that nature. So yeah, definitely a lot of cats, certainly use the body weight exercise in the calisthenics to certainly get the job done as well. So there's a lot of different modes of training. But one thing I wanted to kind of move to as we talk to this area of fitness is that as much as, and this is almost like a sort of a contradiction to an extent, that as much as we talk about the explosion of fitness in the world, where we talk about different people's exposure to where we have more gyms that are available now, more access, also gyms that are less expensive now. Because again, back in the day, I remember my first gym membership, I was paying $75 a month. And that was with a corporate discount. This was at New York Sports Club. And it was a kind of a good thing that I did that, because what that did for me was that let me know that, look, I need to take this seriously. because back then, if I'm spending this kind of money to go to a gym, I'm going to use it. Whereas if I joined like a $10 like Planet Fitness, I don't know if I would have stayed with it, because there wouldn't have been, I didn't have like that extra motivation until I got the bug to train like on a regular basis and really stay consistent. Because prior to then, I would go off and on. I bought a weight set, got 300 pounds worth of weight, and I did all that kind of stuff, and I only used it sparingly, but I didn't really stick with it. But when I joined that gym and had to pay that high price to join it, it made me committed until the bug came in. So now I can go into an LA Fitness and train for $10 a month, and I'm still going to treat it just as seriously as I did if I was paying the high amount. But the fact that we have all these gyms that are available, but still the obesity issue is still like a climbing issue. So it's like we're getting fitter, but at the same time, we're getting fatter.
Oh, I can tell you why.
Yeah.
I know. I seen the numbers. So I was working in healthcare, and you see a lot of numbers that you'd be surprised. Do you know what is the first thing people go for when they come home?
When they come home?
Yeah. What's the first thing you go for? Like a snack or a drink or something to eat.
Oh, well, the alcohol, beer, or
soda.
Soda.
Nah. So average soda has about 240 calories usually.
Mhm.
Carbs, I'm not sure off my head, to be honest with you, but 240 calories for one soda is a lot if you think about
Yeah.
it. Now, let's say you drink about 4 or 5 of those a day.
Yeah.
You do the math there.
Mhm.
So you're working all day. All right, Paul. I'm like, you're tired. I'm like, what's the last thing you want to do is cook. So on the way home, McDonald's right there.
Mhm.
Burger King. Taco Bell.
Mhm.
No. Now with Uber Eats and Grubhub and all that stuff, they made it even easier.
Mhm.
So now you see all those companies coming out now with Ray Fresh, for example, that sends you all everything you need, a healthy meal you can cook right there in like under 30 minutes. Great. Or you have these not TV dinners actually now. They actually have healthy ones that tell you have like 30 to 40 grams of protein. I don't know how many carbs and calories or whatever. I'm just throwing examples of. They're great, but they're very expensive.
Mhm.
So you're going to go with the old school dinners that are only $5 a piece. See where I'm going with this now?
Mhm.
The numbers don't lie. The reason obesity is growing is because more people start very good healthy habits, going to the gym, eating the right stuff and everything. At some point, they hit a curve,
Mhm.
and that curve is called life.
Mhm.
But that life means you don't have time to cook, you don't have time to do shit, but
Mhm.
you eat out all the time.
Mhm. Right. Well, there's also a commonality. In fact, I'm going to share something here that I sort of put
Go for
together
it.
for the show. Let's see if I can get this guy here to show here. So, and I'll put, there's this website is pretty cool because again, this is an interactive map that shows obesity, and what they go by obesity, it's like anything like over 18% of the population. They use that sort of as a guide. So again, the countries that are over 18% obesity versus the ones that are under. The areas where you see on the map that's gray, that means they haven't collected data in those countries as of yet. But
Do you have Greece on there any chance? Because I don't see it.
yeah. In fact, I'm going to share some of the numbers in more detail. But I'm just showing initially just this sort of global map that shows generally. So again, we look at the United States. Very high concentration, 38 8% obesity issue. Now we're not the highest. In fact, I'll just go to the next slide. This here is a breakdown of like the most obese nations in the world. So ironically, folks who are more obese than us is Kuwait. All right. So you have
I'm
Kuwait,
surprised at that.
United States, Saudi Arabia, Jordan. Now, what I am seeing here a little bit is there is a pattern with these countries in that the ones that are here at the top, and then I can go just through the list here. The next one here, you have again Iraq more, Canada is over 30%, Australia is over 30%, Mexico, South Africa. So you have a lot of countries here. Greece actually is on the next, is actually coming up. Greece, you guys are actually pretty good. You guys are 33rd, 26.3%. obesity prevalence there. So you guys are sort of like, sort of like lower middle. There's almost 100 countries that are taken here. So you guys are definitely at the bottom of the upper tier when it comes to obesity. But one thing to keep in mind from seeing from these countries here is that a lot of these countries are fairly well off relative to the world. I mean, we forget sometimes that, there's a lot of countries in the world where, people don't eat like on a regular basis. There's starvation. There's, there's different things that are preventing people from having good nutrition overall or access to it. But if you look at some of these countries where, they have developed cities and nations and such, the obesity rates can, really skyrocket because of the access you talk about. So you have access to soda, you have access to a fast food place, a drive-through that you would stop through on the way home. And so again, so to the point of, like a lot of people are taking their fitness more serious, joining gyms and working out and things like that, still having access to different foods, to different ways of eating, are definitely things that that keep people from reaching their fitness goals, because you have the access to it. Now it's interesting here. I got to go shout out to Black David. Nigeria is actually on the low list. Now, what's also interesting in this slide here, a lot of these countries where they did get data, again, they don't have access to a lot of data from Africa, but the countries that are represented here, so Cameroon, Ghana, Ivory Coast, Nigeria, all relatively low rates of obesity. Now, the thing about here, I don't know how much of that is tied to, again, the general condition of the country. So if you're a third world country, for example, I don't know if the obesity rates are going to be affected just due to the point that a lot of people don't have access to food. Like I said, they don't have access to the conveniences, or a lot of how they eat is more kind of hand to mouth. So I'm not sure. And again, Black Dave, if you want to sort of come up and sort of give your commentary on this, because it's interesting about Nigeria, because again, a lot of, at least what I see recently, a lot of the videos in Nigeria, I see some fairly big people, some decent size, especially the women aren't necessarily thin. I don't, whatnot, but according to these numbers, generally as a nation, Nigeria is relatively thin, or certainly under the obesity rate as are other African states. But again, I don't know how much of that is tied to, when they put in like famine, or other factors, food scarcity or food deserts where, people, again, literally live, hand to mouth, or, scourging for food. But it seems like in the more advanced countries, you have this, this trend. But again, there's exceptions here. Like this last towards the end, again, there were 97 countries. Vietnam is the leanest. Only 2.6% of Vietnamese are overweight. India, which also surprised me, because again, I've seen, in terms of a lot of the foods they eat a lot of carbs, they eat a lot of sugar. And I know diabetes is a big problem over there, but apparently obesity isn't a major problem. Japan, which kind of makes some sense. I mean, you don't see too many heavy Japanese people. A lot of the Asian countries here tend to be a little bit on the leaner side. But certainly in the West and in the Middle East is where we tend to have a lot of the obesity, even though in the West we also have access to, again, a lot more of, again, the fitness. I don't know if there's how many gyms are in India, for example, or Cambodia, or Vietnam, for that matter.
I'll be honest with you, Paul,
to a gym. Yeah,
Africa, I'm kind of surprised because they're on the move a lot. Meaning, like, I know this is gonna be like a little blunt. Like they're always, they're gonna walk from one place to the other most of the times. Like, I know a lot of people. I know a few African guys, and told me they didn't have a car back in Africa.
Right.
So Africa, having a car is like a luxury in there. From my understanding, again, Black Gate, please get your ass up here and tell me if I'm wrong. Right. But like, there's certain some of them are certain tribes they hunt a lot. And it's like, oh, obviously, how you gonna hunt? You're gonna chase it. You're not gonna go, hey, taxi, come here, we're hunting. None of that stuff. You're going to grab and go after the damn thing. You're gonna chase it.
Right. But even if you look at the map, like Africa in general, if you look at the southern tip, and if you look at the upper tier, like what's common between those two is they're highly developed. So like South Africa, very highly developed civilization. The Middle East. Now you have, these are areas of excess. They got a lot of money, they have a lot of oil, and they're literally building these mega cities out of the desert, so to speak. The interior, where there might be, again, less access, like you said, less access to resources. Maybe you have to live to, hunt to eat, sort of thing, or food becomes more of a concern. We know about there have been famines in Africa, and usually a lot of it's in those middle areas, a little less so in the Middle East and in the northern and certainly in the southern area. So again, it's the pattern may be, just looking at this map, is again, the more advanced and developed that the nation is, the more likely they are to be obese. I mean, South America, again, they're teetering around. Argentina, for example, teeters around 30% obesity. Brazil, 3.8%. So again, I wonder how much of this is simply having too much access to things. Even on, I know Brazil has a pretty strong physique culture. If you've seen anything about Brazil, they take fitness very seriously. Body composition, they take very seriously in that country. But there's still a little bit on the side, because again, every video I've seen on Brazil, it's like everybody goes there to eat. The food is amazing, from what I understand. The local street vendor, he's going to give you some carne and some rice and some, so you can really eat well and relatively cheap down there. Also, it's not a lot of money for food. So you have so again, this could be tied to the development of the nation. Again, there's always going to be outliers like Japan, but like I said, generally, I haven't seen a lot of Japanese people generally who are obese. And then you also have to take into account the, again, access to food, especially in America. Like, first thing always cracks me up anytime I've gone out to dinner with someone from another country, like to an American restaurant for the first time. They're blown away, for example, by the portion sizes. Like, when they come out and get your plate down, they're like, wait a minute, this will feed my family. There's one big plate here, I'll feed my whole family here. And it's like, you mean to tell me that this is just one serving? So, it could also come down to portion sizes, also why why the obesity numbers are off the charts. But again, the factors I think you talked about, Peter, in regards to, again, the processed foods, the sugary foods, the sodas, the fast food. Again, a lot of these conveniences in countries where those things are available could certainly be a contributor to why the why the obesity rates tend to be up in these countries also. But anything funny, you want to share on what I've put
yeah, actually, I want to touch base with the last comment that came out from a housewife. The comment, she says, America want us to feed the pharmacists. That's the part that hit me. They're right. Because I tell you what, because you to pick up anything in here in the United States, you need a what?
What do you mean? If you want to do what in the United States?
If you need something, medication to say, okay.
You gotta go to the doctor. Yeah.
Okay, but then your doctor writes a script or prescription, right. And then you go to pharmacy, correct?
Right.
So in Greece, it works a little different. You need to see a doctor, then you go to prescription in, but you don't need that script. So if that's your local pharmacist, like all the time, whatever, yada, okay, I need this for my diabetes. Okay, you don't need a script. Here you go. That's how simple it is. Insurance works completely different. I'm not very familiar with insurance. I need to get back on that.
Okay.
You know what? I'd like to get my mom on this one. I'm not gonna lie to you. I'd like to get her ass on the camera one day and have her to.
That'd be good.
Hopefully, she doesn't throw some curses on the phone at me.
Right.
Like before we close out, I gotta tell you the iPhone story that happened lately in here. You're gonna laugh your ass.
Love the iPhone stories.
Anyway, so the prescription, like there was a cream called Votolen. It finally came on the market in the United States recently. First was prescription. It was with script. After insurance paid for $150 fucking for a cream, this little big, but that stuff worked miracles. I used it so much. Take out knots and everything like that. Now finally you can get it without a prescription.
Nice.
And it's a decent price. And it makes me wonder, where the hell are we going as a country? Are we getting better, or we're just digging a grave? Our debt is going out of control, and I feel the freaking pharmacy was the tip of it. Think how many people how many people need medication and they can't afford it.
Right. Yeah, I mean certainly that's an economic discussion. You know, maybe that's what we could talk
I
about
know,
in the
I know, I know.
future in a
But
future
I
show.
feel like that fitness has a little bit to do with it too, because if you take care of yourself now, you don't have to worry about those old medication later on as much.
Right.
Except when
Right.
you're at 50, maybe you should be worried about it in your 80s.
Mhm.
That's one thing about Master Ray, my instructor. He didn't start taking medication to his 70s.
Mm.
I'm like, what's your trick? Like, simple. I always worked out. And he ate like a king. The portion size and humongous. But he was always very active. 5-6 classes a day.
Yeah.
Plus his private classes on top of that.
Yeah.
That's all he did. He's train.
Yeah. I remember that swimmer, Michael Phelps.
Yes.
When he talked about his diet, like he ate like 11,000 calories a day, and it was always like pancakes and chocolate covered pancakes and all these kind of crazy foods. Because again, he spends so much time in the pool, just burning energy in the pool that
The Rock.
he needed.
That's another
Yeah,
example.
he needed. Yeah.
The Rock. I'm not sure how many calories he eats, but I seen his cheat meals. They're legendary.
Yeah, I've seen some of those too.
He said it to the legendary, and I can credit the legendary pancake stack this high.
Yeah.
I'm like, just looking at it, I don't get finished 3, I'll be lucky, but 7 or 8 of them, Jesus, he has 20 of them. Pizzas,
yeah,
he's like 5 pizzas himself.
Yeah.
I'm like,
Yeah.
how?
Got to feed the engine, But again, he's a massive guy. I mean, on any level. And the crazy thing about The Rock is he's actually gotten bigger and more muscular and defined over the years. Remember, like The Rock in the 90s and early 2000s, he didn't have that kind of definition. He wasn't like freaky looking, but he's just gotten freakier with age. He's just gotten bigger and more ripped. Like I said, he wasn't ripped back in the day, but now it's like every muscle fiber you can see now.
So I was on another channel, the Sports Bar with actual King Smith. He hosted that. He has been coming because I'm the wrestling guy for him.
Right.
And we're talking, and one of the questions was, "Do you think The Rock is on steroids?" And my answer was yes, immediately.
Mm-hmm.
So what I want to say on that, because it's part of the fitness thing, he took a hiatus for The Rock, if you remember. Like he went from wrestling to movies that he was really bad at first, if you remember.
Yeah.
To a break, then he came back with Gains and Pain. I think it was the first one he came back with.
Yeah, right.
But when he came back, he was a beast of a monster.
Yeah.
I'm like, I looked over like, that's The Rock?
Yeah. Like, and even in those the Fast and Furious franchise, he's pretty ripped in those also. He's pretty big.
Yeah, he's just getting bigger and bigger because right now, the gym, he's always a big gym guy. Let's be straight up here. He's always loved the gym, and now he got to the point like he needs a portable gym.
Mm-hmm.
Imagine how much money he spent on the people that set his gym every time he moves it.
Oh, sure.
Except for sitting in some kind of trailer. I'm not sure how that moves that thing. Mm-hmm. Like, if he's listening, at least give me the secret of formula. Shit, that's a lot of camera.
Look, money. I mean, some of these guys, like we all hear, like LeBron James, he pays like $1 million a year on his fitness. You know what I mean? So for a guy like The Rock, it wouldn't surprise me if he spent that kind of money on whatever he needs to make sure that he has what the equipment and the training to do what he does, because he makes tens of millions a year, so he's very financially successful. So so that's a very small investment for him to be able to maintain the quality of fitness that he has.
So as much as we're talking about fitness, let's talk about the elephant in the room for a second, the scam ones.
Sure,
because there's so many scam stuff like out there.
Scam arts, okay.
Right. Oh yeah, there are a lot of scam programs. Athlete X is one of the good. I mean, there's another one that he shows. I see he's advertisements all the time, all over the internet. Oh, if you want to lose weight, do this. You don't need. You can eat carbs and lose weight. And yeah, you could eat. There's so many ways to lose it. I'm like looking at it, I'm like, it never ends. The scams. What's your opinion on those?
Yeah, I guess a little bit more specific regarding. So you're talking about guys who have like. I guess gurus who talk about weight loss programs or fitness programs or whatever. Yep. I mean, you're gonna have. I mean, there's you're always gonna have like the bro science guys out there, or the guys who talk about their programs, but they don't give you like the real in terms of whether or not they're taking, whether they're taking the supplement route or not. So yeah, I mean, I certainly think there's almost this is a common thing that In fact, I was just talking to my daughters about it before I got on the show, talking about this. I almost think that we live in an age now where there's too much information, or too much access to information, or too many people thinking that they're contributors to information when and I think it kind of hurts the um, trying to remove from the state. Okay, trying to remove that. um, um, that everyone's an expert on everything, right? It's like everyone's a journalist. Everyone is a preacher or a religious person. Everyone is a scientist. Um, or everyone has, certainly in the fitness industry, everyone is an expert on fitness. Now, again, I'm not saying that we should be elevating like Athlete X or these other guys to that level. I mean, looking at the guy, he's constantly ripped to the max. I don't know what he's on. If he's on anything. I mean, I don't know if he's shared his protocol, but for a guy to be that lean and to maintain that all year round, I would be certainly skeptical of what he's doing to maintain that kind of look. But everybody comes in with different special diets. I don't care if it's keto, carnivore, plant-based, vegan, vegetarian, or whatever. Everyone has a view on things, and really it comes down to an individual having to take some agency over what works for you. So my only thing is, in terms of the scammers, one, I mean, don't take anything that's unauthorized, um, or put anything into your body that you don't know about. If a guy comes to you and say, here, take this, and you just take it blindly, I think you need to do some agency and do some research before you put anything into your body. Number one. But again, I think you have to ultimately be the one in charge of, even if you're working with a trainer, you have to take some agency. Hey, look, this is feeling good and this isn't. And not necessarily always going with, because the guy looks a certain way. Again, you don't know what those people are doing to look a certain ways, but we're all going to say, well, that guy's credible because he's ripped and he's got a six pack, but we don't know the protocol that he's on. So I think, and this is certainly another subject that certainly Mandrell, when he gets back from making his nest, that he can certainly talk about also. We've kind of touched down on some of the shows that he's done, that we don't know, how these people are what they're giving people. But even when it comes to training, different training protocols. Now, again, I made the mistake early on. Again, my first bodybuilding experience or training experience was I got the Arnold Schwarzenegger Encyclopedia of Bodybuilding. That was like the first, major.
Yeah, it's one of the first books I got too.
Books that I got. And I did the program almost to a T. And I couldn't walk like for 2 days. I mean, it was the too much volume for my body type. Now I'm a natural ectomorph. I'm a naturally thin person. Again, when I graduated college at 6'3", I was 147 pounds. So I wasn't a big guy at all, but I'm doing all this crazy volume that Arnold was recommending in his book. When for my body type, I learned later on that for me, less is more. Less workouts and more infrequent workouts. I got it. Recovery is it's something. Hang on. It's something that I got to pay attention to.
You right, man?
Might have been speaking too much this weekend, but yeah.
I know, I got you excited, but damn, I don't think I get that excited. Shit.
Something got caught in my throat.
Maybe losing some weight, making you a little excited there.
Yeah. So again, somebody, Dino Dinosaur, again, thank you for stopping by. He says Athlon X has one cheat meal dessert per year on his birthday. He takes his diet. Takes super discipline. Yeah, I mean, if you're gonna do that, certainly. But again, can everyone follow that? That's the thing. So again, I've watched some of his content. I like it. The way he says things. But again, to get to his level of conditioning or discipline, and again, we don't know. I'm not accusing him or anyone of anything. In terms of what they're doing in order to maintain
the other one that
what they're
I was
doing,
looking for just now is V-Shape. Of Shatter. He's been called out so many times from I don't know how many people
Mhm.
who are actually in the field. Nobody that I know personally, but I've been hearing him get called out by IFAB guys. Even Arnold called him out like you're a scammer, all this stuff because
Mhm.
the way he said, "Oh, you can eat carbs, as many carbs as you want, eat whatever you want. You don't. We don't restrict in my program."
Mhm.
And I'm like, but if you don't restrict yourself a little bit, go crazy, you're never going to. If you don't go to a calorie defect, you're not losing weight
Mhm.
or losing fat.
Mhm.
So I mean, it doesn't make sense the way he says it.
Well, I
Says
think he might have been, well, at least the conversation that I've seen over the years. There's a group of people who basically talk about a calorie is a calorie, or a lot of guys say, well, if it fits your macros. So the idea is, it doesn't matter what you eat as long as you eat a certain amount of calories. Like say, let's say if your goal is weight loss, for
mhm.
example, as long as you eat under, let's say if your calorie max is say 2,000 calories a day, as long as you're eating under that, you'll lose weight. Does it regardless of what it is. So a lot of those guys, they don't make any distinction between protein, fats, or carbs. And as long as you're doing that, eating under your limit, you'll lose weight. But like I always said, like it always gets down to what type of weight are we talking about? Are we going to be losing muscle? Or are we going to? Hey, Mandrell is in the house, man. Good to see you, brother.
Well, we were speaking about you.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. So so you have a lot of guys who are proponents of that. So yeah, you can eat whatever you want, eat junk food or whatever, as long as you eat under 2,000 calories or whatever. You're still you'll still make gains. You'll still get shredded by doing that. Again, I think a person at the end of the day, again, they need to take some agency over what they're doing regarding training
See,
and
one
whatnot.
thing about this fasting intermittent fasting, I do like about it
Mhm.
because you have only this much window to eat.
Right.
There's no way in hell you're going over
Well,
your
see, that's the
calories.
thing. So the question I've always had about intermittent fasting
Mhm.
is it the fasting or is it the caloric intake? Because generally, when you restrict yourself to that window of eating, are you over the course of the day, are you going to be consuming more or less calories than you normally would if you were just eating sort of throughout the day? So again, having a limited window with which to eat, at the end of the day, are you cutting your calories down? So to me, that's sort of like the back and forth. That's the debate on those who are big proponents of intermittent fasting and those who are not. And again, I'm not, I'm kind of neutral. One way that I kind of do it on a regular basis anyway. I do a minimum of 12. So like I said, I typically don't have breakfast really, or my first meal. I don't even call it breakfast anymore. Usually I have my first meal about 1 p.m. and my last meal is usually midnight the night before. And now if I'm working from home, sometimes my first meal is not until 2 or 3 p.m., depending on how busy I am. And then I eat within that window until midnight and then and then repeat. So myself, I do like a minimum of, usually on average, a minimum of 12. But for people who want to go extended, eat in a 16-8 window or longer, 18-6 window or whatever, how many meals? Let's say if you gave yourself a 6-hour window, how many meals are you going to possibly eat within that 6-hour window?
Two.
You know what I mean? So
I'll be
right.
honest with you.
So 2 meals within a 6-hour window
Mhm.
versus if you didn't have the window at all, you might eat 3 or 4. And that's
Oh,
also
I eat more
including
than that.
snacks and
Yeah.
everything else that you may be, putting in, the drinks and all that kind of stuff in the meantime. So that's my only question for those who are part of like the intermittent fasting crowd, that at the end of the day, is it simply a form of caloric restriction more so than everything they talk about? Okay, well, your body somehow recharges itself and your system is now primed to like take in uh, um, calories in a certain way, or things go to muscle or what have you. So it gets that gets tricky for me. But again, that's a show in and of itself. I mean, so we're talking about the
So
fitness,
I
but
don't want
we're
to get
also
too much
talking, yeah,
deep in that
yeah,
one, but one thing
yeah.
I do understand when you're supposed to do this fasting thing, it kind of reboot your metabolism a little bit,
Hmm.
and it kind of starts speeding up a little more because you have that window.
Right,
Don't know. I don't know. This is what I was told. I don't have any facts, like
right,
scientific facts to say. You know what? I can argue with you, Paul. That you're wrong. This is why.
yeah.
No, I don't. This is what I want to be. Information I was told by people.
Hmm.
And one thing I will add to your previous comment: too much information, it is a bad thing.
Hmm.
Me personally, I like researching things, and you know me personally, Paul, and
Hmm.
I do. From you guys know, I research things to the shit can come fall off a goddamn stick.
Yeah.
But the problem is with fitness, like I don't know where to start, where to end. There's so much out there with fitness
Mhm.
stuff because we're is as humans, we're obsessed with our fitness. Let's be
Yeah.
honest here. I don't care if
Well,
you're 600 pounds.
some are. I mean, just throw a number out there. You talk like humans are. What percentage would you say of people who really take their health and fitness seriously? I think it's less than 10%. To be honest with you,
It's 3%. I'm telling you,
3%. So yeah, so you're
But
not talking
the
about.
other 98% or whatever is wants that body, but they don't want it. But
They don't have the discipline, or they're not. Yeah, they're not willing to sacrifice in order to get it. Yeah,
They're not as fact. Like I hear so many chefs like, man, I wish I was your shape. Like, really? I'm like, yeah, you're in good shape. I'm like, I'm decent shape. And he goes like, but man, and, like, and this is a big guy I'm talking about. Like, he's got his bigger than Santa Claus, and the only thing he's missing is the white beard. No fun intended.
Right.
But he, goes to me like, why don't you just cut back? The one chef I will say, Chef Trev, if you're out there, holler at you, my man. He is 6 foot, a bold brother like you, obviously, and shredded to the T. Shredded to the T.
Yeah.
And I was busting something, and we used to argue, me and him, when we first met. And he goes, you know what's the difference about me and you? I'm like, what? I went to him like, this. He starts like, I'm like, yeah, man, you know what's the difference about me and you? I got white Greek shiny ass. Kiss it. I went to him. And he goes, I have no comment in that. But the point I'm trying to get to, he's the only chef I ever met. He was shredded.
Yeah.
But he didn't eat through the day. He tasted stuff because that's part of the job.
Right.
But he didn't have meals.
Right.
And he has a gym like him in his home like you do.
Yeah. So does he within a window? Does he do the fasting thing? He
used to do the fasting thing before the fasting was a fasting thing.
Right. Got you.
It was back at like like almost 8 years ago. I met him, maybe more. Like he told me like I don't eat because I'm always coffee. That's my fuel through the day. I drink coffee.
Yeah, like caffeine. Yeah. Some
people. But don't coffee is also depressing.
People live on stimulants. That's. Yeah, that I guess I never tried to get too much on. Like I may have like one cup of coffee a week, but I'll have like a Coke Zero or something like that. Also, I mean, I'll drink the zero sugar product, but I don't.
We're not friends anymore. BMU Black Devil, I need a new co-host, please.
No, you're not. You're not getting rid of me. No, you're not. I'm not going anywhere.
No, I definitely. That's every. Like I know people who love tea. I like tea, but I'm not like I have tea twice a year tops. I'm not a big fan of it.
Yeah, I'm not into the green teas and the again, wintertime, especially if I feel a little tickle in my throat or something like that, drinking something hot, a hot beverage, so that with some ginger or whatever, I'll certainly entertain that. But yeah, I'm not a tea, like guys at work, they get like the real tea and they get the ball with the chain on it and they put the tea leaves in there and they soak it out. So some guys are like very old school like that when it comes to that as well. But it's definitely I'm not a big tea person either. But as far as the number of people just globally, I think, who are really like I don't know if there's like necessarily a culture on earth that I can say is like really dedicated to fitness. Even the Brazilians who are like all about body, but there they do like the surgeries, the BBLs, they do the all kinds of things to to make their bodies look good. But again, how many people are going to be serious about, how many people join the gym, how many people stay in the gym, and how many people really use the gym?
Here's
the
my
numbers
thing with
get smaller and smaller with each with each group.
So a couple stories here, actually. One, I remember my buddy Jay Hallerai, if you're listening, he had a local gym around here. Nothing big, a very small gym, more like a personal studio thing, but you could go work out by yourself too. What was it? The Wii Fitness almost killed his business because everyone was getting, I'm gonna get fitness, his way, but no, it doesn't work like that. I'm sorry. Now the newest trend was P90X for a while, Insanity, all that stuff.
I did that, yeah. P90X.
And I thought get it for like $10 a month. I'll get it, just have it as a backup. Maybe days I can't go to the gym, I can do a little cardio. But the problem is you cannot stream it on your smart TV. You can only do it on your phone for some reason.
Right.
So just FYI for you guys who have the company Beachbody, you need to work on it. So now with the whole plastic surgery thing, here's my thing with that. My ex was talking about it and talking about it, talking about it. And I looked at her. I go, listen, if you want to get it, it's fine, but that's not my cup of tea. Like,
What kind of plastic surgery we talking about?
chest, boobs, ass. She
Okay, so
wanted a
she's
whole
going,
new body.
wow,
She,
it's a
I
whole
want a new
the
body.
Barbie makeover. Wow.
Yeah, she literally said, I want a new body. I want a new body, new body. That's all she used to talk about. I go,
Mm.
who the fuck is gonna pay for it? You? I'm like, what are they, goddamn fucking ATM? Anyway, and I told
That's
her I was there.
not see how brazen that sounds. who's gonna pay for my new body? It's gonna be you.
Yeah. She was
Now, how
some
long did you stay with her after
3.5
she said
years.
that? You stayed with her still for 3.5 years.
Yeah,
after
I
she
never
said-
thought she was serious. The only one I think she did was her teeth because her teeth were a lot, jacked up, and she went
Oh,
back.
man.
Her DR was a little cheaper than here, but I
Mm.
warned her, don't do it, don't go there, just pay the extra money here. Guess what happened? A month after she came back, her mouth was infected.
Oh, jeez.
So guess I was
Yeah.
the one that had to laugh. The
Mm.
same. But my thing was, I was told over and over was, yeah, I wasn't into that.
Mm.
You know, I don't like fakeness. Before we move on, I want to shout out to Marcus again. He said he was in the Marines and stuff like that. Marcus, if you want to come up and maybe we'll interview or have a show with you about your experience in the Marines, I think me and Paul would love that. What do you think, Paul?
Absolutely.
Yeah, let me know. You are one of my prescribers. Hit me up. My emails are on all of my stuff in the bottom. Let me know how you feel, if you feel comfortable. That is, no pressure. If you don't, that's up to you, of course.
I hear. I got one more question. Again, we could probably use this as a
Closing.
as a closeout topic for the show, because we've been talking about, and this is something that has I brought up in other conversations. But the topic of the show tonight was fitness. But how do you define fitness?
A couple ways. One, how you feel. That's one. How's your health? Two, and how comfortable do you feel in your own body? The third one's a hard one for me. I feel fine overall. I don't have any heart problems. I don't have any. The worst thing I ever had was kidney stones, and 8.5 milliliter stones in you and trying to piss those out is not coming out. That was the worst thing that happened. But I knew at some point I was going to get them because my mom had them. So, and she had them and had them and had them, and like I knew that was coming.
Right.
So, except that, I think I'm pretty healthy. Check. Weight is going down. I'm like not bad. Like you should never see me then and now. Like I'm getting, thinner and thinner and thinner as time comes on. Keep pushing. Don't stop. Your enemy is yourself. Look in the mirror. See that person breathing down your neck? He's gonna stop you going to the gym. I was the biggest person like that. I was a big gym rat at one time. Then I fell off it because my mom made that very clear. It's not her fault. It's my fault. I should find time to go to the gym and take care of her. But I focus on her. To get back into it was very hard. So when I got back into it finally, I was trying to find every excuse possible not to go to the gym.
Right.
Not anymore. Now, I go. This is how I break my workouts out now. So I go Mondays, Tuesdays, Wednesdays. I try to go Wednesdays, but it doesn't work out with all her doctors. So I go Thursdays, Fridays, and after Friday, I shower really fast and jump on in the barbershop. So see how I have my routine broken out. It works for me. I'm not gonna change it. I'm happy with it.
Right.
You gotta
I'd like to
find
also know from the would also like to know from the panel, from the chat also, if you have a definition of what is fitness. I have my own, but I'd be certainly interested in hearing people's perspectives. If you was going to define fitness, how would you define that? Because I think that's certainly a gray area, so to speak, that we don't talk about a lot. And so just to reiterate what you've said about it. So it's three things for you. So you said one, how do you feel? Okay. Secondly, I'm sorry. The second one was
fitness, weight.
Weight. Okay. Yes. So what your weight is, and then the last one was about
how comfortable are you in your body?
Body. Okay. I would define it a bit differently. One of the things that I'm always hearing people use interchangeably is health and fitness, and I think those are two very different things. What I think the first thing that you described is more so health, and I define health by the standpoint of Health is about the absence of disease, illness, or injury, right? The absence of it. It doesn't mean that you're fit, but it means that you're not sick, you don't have an injury, and again, you don't have a disease, you don't have cancer, you don't have certain ailments there. Fitness, I've always defined as the ability to do tasks. And so, if I was going to ask a question, like one question I've always, in fact, I should have brought that slide up. Let me see if I can quickly do this because I know I had this for some time. Let me see if I can pull this guy up into the slides. But fitness is probably the hardest thing to define because it's dependent on the task. So, for example, what is if I was to show you a 300-pound sumo wrestler and a marathon runner, if I was going to ask you who was fit, what you think most people would say? So if I had a picture of the two side by side, which one would you say, or would you most people would think is? So again, a 300-pound sumo wrestler and a marathon runner. Who would you say, or what do you think a lot of people would say are the fit ones?
Probably be a runner, but I would say personally, as a sumo would be more fit.
Right. The question for me, the answer has always been. In fact, let me see if I can load this. If I can, I'm gonna show this. Just give me a second to see if I can load it. If you just want to keep talking, let me see if I can get this in here.
Because I reason I say the sumo wrestler because I know that world better than and I know they look might look big guys, but they're actually very fit.
Mm-hmm. Right. So I mean, so my answer would be both of them are fit. Because again, fitness has to do with your ability to do tasks. So it doesn't matter. So again, the sumo wrestler is going to be fit for his task. In fact, let me see if I can share this now. Better get this guy to come up.
You're really having issues there tonight.
Should have came up. You try that again. It's a PDF. They just said I should be able to share. Share the PDF. Come on, man. Black David, if you could help me in the back, if you could see that in the back and see if you could post it, because I thought with this you could show either like a PowerPoint or you should be able to show a PDF. So I'll upload a PDF. I want to see if I can, if you can help us load that. Let's see what you can do there. But I would say both of them are fit. Even though in our minds we have an idea of what fitness means or represents, the marathon runner obviously is going to, be able to do his thing. If the sumo wrestler tried to do what the marathoner did, he would lose. I mean, he would barely, do a mile, let alone a marathon. But conversely, if you put the marathon runner in the ring with the sumo wrestler, he's going to get destroyed like within seconds.
Yeah.
So again, fitness is always about the task that you're doing. So again, I know Dino Dinosaur says good mobility, healthy inside and out, and no meds on a daily basis. Again, I would define that as health. And to the point, again, of the sumo wrestler living for 60, 65 years, I would also attribute that to health. But it doesn't mean that he's fit. And conversely, I know a lot of healthy people who are very unfit in that they can barely lift. I remember there's a guy I work with, very healthy, but very frail, and couldn't do. I remember one time he asked me he needed a wheelchair for his dad, and I brought it to work, and he was so weak. It weighed about 50 pounds. I mean, it was a pretty sturdy wheelchair. He could barely lift it to put it into his car. I had to literally put it in the car for him. I don't know how we got it out. So you can be healthy, but if you can't defend yourself, if you can't, if you had to do something explosively in a moment, I don't know how healthy that is, or how fit that is when you can do that. So that's why I always make that distinction between the two. Okay, so if you could, if you could do tasks that, whatever you need, whether it be a sprinter or a boxer or a sumo wrestler or a yoga practitioner. Again, try to get a sumo wrestler to do a split like a yoga professional or something. They can't necessarily do it. So
like me and Black David used to do in martial arts.
Right. So again, and both of you guys. So I'll just use you two guys. Both of you have long practices of martial arts, but you look very different. So at the height when you guys were in your practice, I could look at him and I could look at you. Who would I say is more fit? I don't know if I can answer that question. But the bottom line is both of you guys got proficient in your martial art. And so you attained a fitness level within your martial art that allowed you to do things that the ordinary person wouldn't be able to do. Now, your health is obviously a component to that. If you're unhealthy, that's what I was talking about. We talked about on your hangout show. If you're injured, if your coach is stretching you out and you pull a hamstring, then I don't know how that's going to help you in terms of being able to perform in your martial art if you're injured. So again, that's a health. So for me, that's a health concern. So again, absence of injury, sickness, or disease is health. You can have a clean slate of that. That doesn't mean because I'm the healthiest person that I don't have any of those, that I can go into any of these disciplines and be able to perform there. All right. So again, to be fit, that's conditioning, that's practice, that's the discipline to perfect your skills in that particular craft. Okay. And then there's another component. There's also body composition, right? How do you want your body to look? All right. So again, for a lot of fit people, how many athletes that we've seen, you talk about the sumo wrestler, dinosaur that dies early, but how many bodybuilders are dying early? These guys get shredded on stage, 2% body fat. How many ex-athletes that die in their 30s or whatnot? And these were some of the quote unquote fittest individuals. But then you also have to ask the question, what price did they pay in order to do that? How many medicines did they have to take? How many drug shots did they have to take to get to that level of conditioning or fitness or whatever? So I think the two certainly go hand in hand, but I still going to define them differently. And the main difference, the way I'm going to define them is by, again, your ability, whatever you're in. So if you're a boxer, being able to box, if you're a martial artist, if you're a runner, if you're a cricket player or a football player, American or Euro football player, I mean, for those guys to go and do what they do that most people can't do, I think that is fitness. And that fitness is going to look different depending on the individual. Okay, so again, if you're playing American football, a 330-pound offensive lineman who could run a 40-yard dash in under 5 seconds, that's a fit guy because he has to be that big for his position. But if I'm a wide receiver or a running back or a quarterback or any other position, I may look differently from that other person. They're both fit, but they're fit for their tasks. And so for me, fitness is very task specific, more so than how someone looks, or fortunately or unfortunately, even how healthy that person is. Because again, the average lifespan of an NFL player is about 2.5 years. Like 4 years is the average of an NFL career. Okay. Mm-hmm. And so, I think that's an important distinction when we're talking about this idea of fitness, that we don't get into our minds, okay, man, that person really looks fit. I don't know what's going on the inside, but certainly the health of the individual, I think is certainly a component, for your longevity. But in terms of your functional, what good is it to be super healthy? But God forbid, let's say if you're married and you're in a burning building in fire, you can't pick up your spouse to carry out of the building. Or let's say if someone, a colleague of yours, and you don't have the physical strength to necessarily pick them up and carry them out of the office. Okay, so again, I think fitness, overall adds a quality to your life over and above your health that makes the life you live more meaningful, at least in the way.
So tell me one second. Do I like the coworker or don't I not like him? Question.
You hate the coworker, but
I'm leaving his ass there then.
But your conscience couldn't live with yourself if you didn't.
Conscious.
Right.
Shit, I need the
overtime. Think about it. If you had to do a fireman's carry, of somebody out of your office. Right? So again, you're in the kitchen, right? Kitchen fire, alarms go off, boop, everybody get out. Someone gets knocked out or whatever. You might have to be the guy to try to get them out of there. You might not have to be able to pick them up. You may have to drag them out or something. Could you physically be able to do that?
Yes,
Is a question that a lot of people can't do. If I had to pick up a 200-pound man over my shoulder,
so
I take a lot of solace in being able to do that. If not that I'm looking to do that. I don't put people. I put barbell on my back. I don't put people over my back. But if I had to do something like that, certainly having the capacity to do that is certainly something that I find valuable, especially as you get older. Bone density and things like that. So I think being fit, adds a quality to your life, not necessarily the longevity to your life. And I think, but both of them are equally as important.
Yeah, you're right. I'm trying to share my screen, but it's not working on my end either. I want to show you the last pictures I had of me being in martial arts when I was teaching still.
Mm-hmm.
And you see the difference. And I was actually very comfortable back then, very comfortable the way I was.
Right.
I have my little gut still, but nothing like crazy like I now. But this is not working right now for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah. I was trying to load the picture, but basically, like I said, it was just a collection of athletes, different people, men and women, different body shapes, different whatever. But the point is, all of them are fit because they're doing something that is required in the task that they're doing. You're not going to put an 180-pound guy on an offensive line or defensive line. You're just not going to do it. These need to be big, rugged individuals. They may have that beer gut or whatever, whatever, but they use all of it to their advantage. And even then, they're still quicker than the average person. Like I said, I'm seeing guys. I watch the NFL Combine every year, and it seems like you got these big 6'5", 340-pound linemen running sub 5-second 40-yard dashes. I mean, for a human body to move that fast in that length of time is still mind-boggling to me in terms of what they're able to do with it. So I just think that it's gonna vary. And like I said, the fittest people that we talk about, the bodybuilders, the figure competitors, again, a lot of these people have short lifestyles because, again, the price that they pay oftentimes to get to that level of shape, is it worth it? I think a lot of us will say no, it is, but it was worth it for them and for whatever goals that they were trying to reach through the practices that they did. So again, that's always just been something that, I don't think I've ever had an opportunity to kind of introduce it in these spaces. But since we're talking about the topic of fitness, I wanted to sort of bring that up for a discussion. And again, anyone else, I know, thanks, Dino, for, your thoughts on it. Anybody else? I know, Amandra, I don't know if you're still listening, if you had a thought on that, if you want to drop in the chat as well. But I just want to, share that and Peter, just get, some more of your perspective on that. But does that make sense to you though?
It makes a lot of sense because it depends how you look at it.
Mm-hmm.
So it depends how you were raised in it too. Because my household, we never talked about going to the gym or being workout. The only thing my dad ever did was a guy that was a little like a elliptical, like a ski one, and he wanted to say, "I'm gonna lose weight,"
right?
But he never used it.
Yeah.
So I didn't have a great role model when it comes to fitness.
Mm-hmm.
So the discipline, the fitness part, that's all me.
Yeah.
And sometimes the tree does fall far, far from the tree.
Yeah.
And sometimes
I can certainly say outside of my brother, like I said, but again, he had a reason to because he played basketball. My dad was not a sportsman whatsoever, and I didn't have a lot of relatives in my family who came from athletic background. And especially just again, even in my age bracket, that's why I'm also, always promoting, fitness over 50. That's kind of like one of my hashtags on my social media page. I mean, how many guys who are over 50 who are still hitting it, and hitting it smartly? You certainly have to sometimes change the way you train smarter. Like I said, I posted a video on my IG 10 years ago. So I'm 44, 45 years old. I did a 452 pound deadlift for 2 reps. At this age, I'm not doing that anymore. I already said, if I can't do a minimum of like 8 reps of anything, I'm not doing it. It's like the juice is not worth the squeeze. So it's very rarely like you talked about the max you did on your bench press, the 135 that you hit on your bench press or whatever. I don't know what my maximum bench is. It might be 275, 280, 315. I have no idea, but I don't even profit or in those realms anymore. I'm not trying to, I don't have personal bests that I try to set. If I usually do, if I can do more than 8 reps or something, I add 10%. I may drop down to 5 or 6, and I build it back up to 8. That's on an upper body exercise, and then the lower body, it's usually 10 to 15 reps that I'm doing it. If I can't do a minimum of 8, like on a squat, I stay away from it. But I'm not trying to do 2 reps and have a spotter and things like that because I don't know what's going to pop at any given time. So I try to stay away from those hero lifts at my age now. But it just shows how just over the years I trained differently in my 50s than I did in my 40s. I still train hard, but I got to be smarter about the things I'm doing also because, I'm at a more vulnerable position.
Yeah. All I was going to say was with my PR and all that stuff is like, I don't need that, but it's also but it's a little bit of confidence booster. Like, oh, okay, it's going up. And it helps me says why I'm doing all this.
Yes. Set the goals, and it should always pyramid up. So let's say so that was your personal best of 1, but what do you typically train with? About 105 or so, or 30, you had 30. Like if you're gonna do like 8 reps, like what are you working with?
If I'm doing let's say legs, for example, it was 125. I usually do about around in 100 range usually.
Around the 100 range, and then you build up from there. So if you were able to get like say up to say 12 to 15 reps, then that might be the time when you want to add put another 10 pounds on the side, and then you work from there. So you may go back down to maybe 8 reps at that point, but you work within that range, you build up, and then once you get to again 12 to 15 reps with that, you add another 10% on. So that's always how I've sort of staggered my training over the years. But again, being smarter about how I do things to maintain this level of again fitness, just mobility, just going up and down the stairs. Like I still run up the stairs usually. If I'm in a building and I'm going upstairs, I'll run up the stairs, and usually I take 2 stairs at a time. I still do that now, again in my mid 50s, and that's just something that I just appreciate being able to do. Whereas I know some people, they got to do 1 stair at a time, hold on to the rail. No, I'll still take flights of stairs going up the stairs, and to me, those are things that, again, do I have to do that? But not necessarily, but it's always good to know that I have that in my back pocket. Again, God forbid if I ever had to do that, to be able to do things, or just moving furniture around. Like I was at my church, they had a function where they were setting up tables and chairs and different things. And you need to, they need men to use some muscle when you're changing rooms around and whatnot. And I'm just happy that I have the fitness in order to be able to do things like that when called upon. Somebody needs help moving, they notice they'll call me. I know some guys at my age or maybe a little bit older or whatever, I would never call them to move because I know they just are not at the level of fitness to really help out without endangering themselves. So usually I call on guys that are half my age if I got to move something. But yeah, guys, if you're like, mid 50, approaching 60, yeah, I'm not going to have you help me move a sofa or something like that usually. But it's good when people say, okay, well, look, I got to call. I know who to call. I'll call Paul up because he can help me with this. If you were closer, listen, we'll put it this way. If I would have met you first, if you were closer, you might have been able to pay me, buy me lunch. I might have been able to come down and help you with that 85-inch TV. but
what I was going to say was when I move out here, first person that came to my mind, I was actually talking to Stacey about this the other night. I go, you know what? I'm gonna find guys. I'm gonna be a pain ass moving out here. Like, I go, at least I got one person. He goes, who? Paul. It's just he's gonna come up. He will come up for me. Don't worry. He will come up.
There you go. So again, but being able to do things like that is something that
it's a blessing right now at our age.
Yeah. And like I said, so Valley. So I know
I know this guy, actually a good friend of mine. We worked together, we trained together a little bit. Never sparred, but he always struggled his way. Always struggled, buddy. He was a good fighter. That's one thing I give him credit for. he came. I saw him the first time in years in the gym. It kind of like it took my mind. But I saw online he posted he came down with Parkinson's disease, too many hits to the head, pretty much.
Wow.
And when I saw him, I'm like, holy shit, he's in bad shape.
Mhm.
And I looked at Stacey like he should not be in here. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? He's a liability for himself and to somebody else in here right now. He's
Mhm.
lipping in here pretty much. You know, like he shouldn't
Yeah.
be in here.
Yeah.
I know he loves to be in there, but at some point in your life, in my life, we're gonna have to say, you know what, it's not worth it anymore.
Exactly. Yeah.
So
Yeah, I agree. So I guess we're towards the end of the show. Again, thank you guys for stopping in. Again, Dino Dinosaur. Again, thank you for your comments. Thanks for Mandrell. Mandrell, we definitely want to bring you on because one of the things that if you're still out there listening, we've had one show already on martial arts,
technically
and
two,
again,
if you're thinking about mine too.
yeah, but certainly the spaces were such where it's like we definitely needed another show. So we're looking for people who've had long study in the martial arts, and we certainly want to have a part two, certainly in this space for the gray area show. And so we would love to have you on. So again, I may reach out to you later on and let me know what your availability
Yeah,
is.
I'm
And see if
gonna
we can
reach
put
out to
that.
you too, brother, because I have
Yeah,
a show I want you to invite. So
absolutely.
it's time to get back to work. You had your fun. Now it's time to go back to work.
Shout out to you again. Congratulations again,
Yeah,
and
seriously, guys.
again,
Congrats.
hopefully
But get
that
back to work.
you guys are getting back. You guys are establishing your new lives together. So that's a great thing. So appreciate you. But I think with that, any closing thoughts before we close out the show?
Tune in. That's all I'm gonna say. That's all I have tonight. I'm like, hit the weights. Go to the gym. If you need help, get a trainer. If you need a coach, plug in. I have information on mine. Paul is a encyclopedia of this stuff. We're all here to help each other at the end of the day. That's one thing I love about the fitness world. It's a big family at the end of the day. Except that Wednesday is the Spartan Arena.
What's your topic on Wednesday?
Working hard men.
Hard work. Okay.
Yeah,
Working hard.
the
Okay.
good one. I like that. And like 9:30. You're up, Paul.
Okay. Well,
Floor is yours.
again, thank you guys once again for joining us tonight. Again, certainly if you enjoyed the content of the show, please consider supporting the BMU network. Again, we give you content essentially 7 days a week. Monday nights we have the show with Art Payne. Tuesday night Talk That Talk Tuesday. We have Sports Wednesday. JT show follows up after that. Thursday we may have a slot. Typically we have Coach K and Dr. Nakumbe, and I know Doctor's taking a hiatus for a while, but hopefully we can certainly fill that space. The Friday Night Barbershop, we have wife Jenny on Saturdays, and now we have certainly Alexis on her show on Saturday nights. And again, we close out the week we start the week on Sundays with the Gray Area show. So again, a lot of content being provided by BMU. Certainly we thank him for, he's the one who does our banners. He does our intros.
Only one correction. Tomorrow's two shows is Art Payne, and after later on is Grace is actually on 9:30. So I'm actually
Embrace the Grace is joining. So she's joining the network also. So we got another
smart side.
So we got another show for you guys. Looking forward to Embrace the Grace, her debut, certainly on the BMU network. Certainly she's carved out a nice little space for herself in social media, and certainly looking forward to her insights as well. Definitely looking forward to that show. So again, the BMU network is certainly providing content, something for everybody. And again, Art Payne, shout out to you for coming out late. Yes, the gym is calling, but you got the gym right in your house. You don't need a call. You just need to go into your next room.
No. Silver sneakers. He's eligible for silver sneakers.
See, why are you doing that, man? shout out to Art Payne. But you got a nice little gym in your house already. So all you got to do is walk down the hall and get your grind on. So you're already there. But please consider following. Check out the show tomorrow night, and again all the shows as they become available on the BMU network. We again so much appreciate your support. Thank you for joining us tonight. I am Mr. Bennett. He is Grooming and Reviews, aka the Ghost of Sparta, aka Peter, aka Paniotis. Have a great week. Have a great start to your week. We'll see you next time. Take care. God bless.